And I look good. You look. Good evening. Welcome to the August 27th Valley View School Board meeting. I would ask Vice President Zach to rise and everyone else rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Member Perro, would you read the board affirmation statement?
Certainly. Our mission is to empower all learners to be college and career ready and to develop, grow, and achieve as productive citizens.
Dr. Mitchum, board agenda.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to ask that the board approve the agenda as presented.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Consent agenda. Dr. Mitchum.
Yes, Mr. Quigley, I'd like to ask that the board approve consent agenda items 5.1 through 5.5. 5.1, board meeting minutes, 8/13/18. 5.2, executive session meeting minutes, 8/13/18. 5.3, gifts for Beverly Scoff Elementary, R.C. Hill Elementary, Jane Addams Middle School, and Romeoville High School. 5.4, student activity contract approval request for B.J. Ward, Beverly Scoff Elementary, and Jane Addams Middle School with Scholastic Book Fairs. And 5.5, student activity contract approval request for Irene King Elementary with Perfect Pastries.
So moved.
Second.
Member Campbell,
Yes.
Member Perro,
Yes.
Secretary Sikora,
Yes.
Vice President Zach,
Yes.
President Quigley.
It's hard to miss. He's 6'7", 6'6", 6'5". Are you shrinking, Doc? 6'4".
Good evening to the members of the Board of Education, senior leadership, Board President Quigley, Dr. Mitchum, our school community. Keith Wood, principal of Brooks Middle School. It gives me great pleasure to bring Ms. Francie Kapp, one of our outstanding assistant principals, to the podium to tell us a little bit about our pillar nomination. Ms. Francie Kapp.
It is with great pleasure to give this award to Danielle McDermott. Mrs. McDermott is a leader amongst our staff. As a RAMP certified counselor, she works in tandem with our counseling team to collect school-wide data to assess our building needs to support students. She is regularly seen pushing into classrooms to address academics, social emotional needs, and college and career awareness. She develops several groups throughout the year to address specific student needs in addition to the one-on-one support. She interacts with staff and parents on a daily basis to build strong partnerships between home and school. She organizes tutoring schedules for all of our 7th grade students to take advantage of. She organizes school-wide celebrations to recognize students for academic success, attendance, and being positive role models. Danielle has also written several grants in the last few years to improve our classrooms and building, to provide reading materials for students, and to give resources to our support staff. One of her biggest accomplishments is organizing Career Day, which is always a huge hit at Brooks Middle School. In addition to all of this, she finds the time to sponsor co-curricular clubs such as NJHS, Newspaper Club, and Girls Run This Town, all while being an amazing mother of 2 with her husband, Charlie. It is an honor to recognize Danielle tonight, as she is an enormous asset to our building.
Next up, we have Team Gabe. Come on down. Playing video game.
Good evening, President Quigley, Vice President Zach, members of the board, members of senior leadership, Dr. Mitchum, members of the community, and if I could please have those staff that are here from Hermanson Elementary and Jane Addams, if you could please stand, who support the Stellar program, so we could recognize your support this evening. Thank you. I'm Teresa Polson, the principal of Jane Addams Middle School, and on behalf of myself and Miss Loretta Fortu, the principal of Hermanson Elementary, and their assistant principal, it is an honor to recognize both Mr. and Mrs. Brown, who stand behind me, along with their son, Gabe, as residents of Bolingbrook, and I currently have students that attend Hermanson Elementary and Bolingbrook High School. When the phrase is echoed, "It takes a village to raise a child," Mr. and Mrs. Brown are to be recognized as noteworthy community members that are active in the Valley View Village. Mrs. Brown took a grassroots vision last spring and made it a reality for our Bolingbrook and Romeoville communities. With the collaboration of the district, Hermanson Elementary, Jane Addams Middle School, the Stellar and Multi-Needs programs, Mr. and Mrs. Brown, along with countless friends and family, held a 3K walk-run last spring at Jane Addams, where over 500 participants walked to bring awareness to autism. Mrs. Brown led in serving and helped raise the program just slightly under $10,000. It is Team Gabe's mission, and Gabe being behind us with Mr. Brown holding him, to ensure that students have access to top-notch resources to support students with autism academically, social, emotionally, and behaviorally. It truly is an honor to recognize this family for their dedication and leadership, and the volunteers of Team Gabe and their support for our specialized programs in Valley View School District.
Next up, the American Heart Association. Who is the... Do we have anybody here? They're coming? Oh, okay, yep, there we go.
Oh, he's coming, actually. Look, he's coming.
I'll put these in two stacks for you here so they don't...
Thank you. Do you want to pass these out? Oh. Sorry, of course she wants to get out. Hi, sorry, hello. Let me get my notes because otherwise I will forget and get distracted by my small children. I apologize. So my name is Whitney Smizer. I'm the Youth Market Director for the American Heart Association. And I really appreciate you giving me the time today so that I can recognize some of your amazing PE teachers and the students and staff at your schools and at Valley View School District. So as you know, this generation of kids are expected to live 5 years less than their parents, which as a mom of younger kids, that really bothers me. And a combination of poor nutrition and decreased physical activity has led to this trend. In 2010, the American Heart Association launched our 2020 impact goal of reducing deaths by cardiovascular disease and stroke by 20% while increasing the health of all Americans by 20%. So pretty lofty goal. In other words, we're focused on the prevention of heart disease. We have made great strides in saving lives. However, there's still work to be done, making America healthier. Today, 1/3 of kids are obese, 2/3 do not get enough physical activity, and kids only consume about half of their recommended daily amounts of fruits and vegetables. If we continue down this path, we will not reach our 2020 goal. So it is volunteers, like these teachers and many that are not here as well, and their students and the staff that help as well, making an impact to change these trends. They empower their students to make health a priority and share their message with their friends and family. One way that these PE teachers and volunteers do this is through our program, the American Heart Association's program, Jump Rope for Heart, which we've recently renamed the Kids Heart Challenge. So during these programs, they reinforce the message of getting 60 minutes of physical activity every day, reduce your sodium consumption, choose water over sugary beverages, stay away from tobacco, eat lots of fruits and vegetables, and make it fun and relatable for their students. In addition to these messages, they inspire their students to help others. Through their extraordinary leadership, they have raised, over $26,000 last year, and as a district, you guys have raised over $190,000 in your lifetime, which is amazing. So as a thank you, I just want to recognize everyone that participated last year. I know Jeff from Jonas Salk is spending time with his newborn. Is Amy from Woodview here? She didn't make it. That's okay. I know there are things. And then did Katie from Bolingbrook High School make it? I didn't see her either, but that's okay. And then Amy from Brooks Middle School. They raised, where are we at? They raised $1,855 last year. Katrina from Independence, I didn't see her either. Nope, okay. And then we've got, I'll save you guys for the last, okay. And then we've got Therese Anfield from Tibbet, raised $5,090 last year. All right, and your guys' top fundraisers last year, Shannon and Dustin from Hermiston, they raised $8,582 last year. And so I have a certificate for you guys for your lifetime achievement of raising $190,000 as well for the board. So thank you guys so much for participating in this. I will, yes. Yeah, I'll see them soon. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for all the volunteer help for the American Heart Association.
I know, let me take the carrier off, so.
So as they're departing, we'll move down the agenda. Board liaison reports would be up first, or next. From my right,
Okay, cool. So
any reports? From my left, any reports? I have no report, so move down the agenda. Audience participation. Anybody in the audience wish to address the board this evening? Seeing no one, moving down the agenda. Dr. Mitchum, report.
No report.
Ms. Kinder,
No report.
thank you. Mr. Grizafi. That's rare. It's that time of the year. Ms. Nash, if you would please. I know you have a few things on the agenda.
I do, thank you. Action Report 12.1 is the Consolidated Action Report for Certified and Classified Personnel. This evening, we're seeking your approval on 21 items for certified personnel, 43 items for classified personnel, 1 item for classified administrative personnel, and 2 items for certified administrative personnel.
Motion?
So move.
Motion and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Perro,
Yes.
Member Campbell,
Yes.
Secretary Sikora,
Yes.
Vice President Zach,
Yes.
President Quigley.
Yes.
Before I move on to my next action report, I would just like to take a moment to introduce 2 new administrative appointments that were just made. The first would be Ms. Jenna O'Callahan. If she's in the audience, I think I saw her. She could just stand for a moment. Ms. Callahan comes to us with 15 years of elementary teaching experience and has served as a teacher among her, a leader among her colleagues in a variety of curricular and co-curricular capacities. She will be the new assistant principal at Jonas Salk Elementary School, and we want to welcome her to the Valley View family. Thanks, Jenna. And Ms. Heather Hargrave, if she could just stand. She has been appointed to fill the position of Director of Special Education. Heather has been with us since 2017 and is previously the Assistant Director for Student Services, and we want to congratulate her on her new role in the district. So congrats, Heather. And then Action Report 12.2, we are seeking approval and adoption of Resolution 1902, authorizing dismissal of classified administrative employee for reasons other than reduction in force.
Have a motion?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. Roll call vote would be in order.
Member Perro,
Yes.
Member Campbell,
Yes.
Secretary Sikora,
Yes.
Vice President Zach,
Yes.
President Quigley.
Yes. Next up, Dr. Mitchum, information report, Achieve 3000 renewal contract.
Yes, President Quigley.
sorry.
I have the information report, 13.1. This is the Achieve 3000 renewal. And we're presenting information tonight prior to seeking approval for this renewal of this literacy resource that we are using to support development for our students in grades 3 through 10. I am welcoming to the podium now Rachel Schlechter, who's our Director of Literacy for grades 6-12, and Dr. Amy Paris, who's our Director of Literacy for pre-K 5. And along them, you see a very strong and supportive team of educators who are going to lend their voice and just share some brief highlights and their input about the use of this resource with our kids that we are finding to have a great impact. So I will turn it over to the ladies at the podium. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Rachel Schlechter, and I'm the Director of Literacy and Social Studies for 612. Back in the school year of 2014-2015, Achieve 3000, which is a curricular resource, was brought to my attention. And since we have some new board members since then, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what Achieve is, why we were interested, and then what impact it's had here at Valley View. So Achieve is a reading literacy program that's interactive. Is it not working? There we go. That is a blended learning approach. So students can access Achieve through a computer device, or they can also access it on paper. But what's really great about Achieve and why we were so interested in Achieve and still are today is, can we go to the next slide? Thank you. Because all the different things that it offers. So one thing we know is that students need to have a balance between reading at the grade level text that PARC and PSAT and SAT have for our students, and growing their lexile where they're at. So Achieve has a really nice platform for allowing students to access text at their current lexile and also providing them grade level text so that we challenge them and reach those complex texts that we're trying to get all students to do. So some of its features are that there are 12 different Lexile ranges that students are able to access. There are over 14,000 articles that students can see. Go to the next one. There's also, they're able to track their own progress. So every time a student does an activity on Achieve, they're able to see their score and see how they're growing. It provides information for students for college and career readiness. It provides them real-time feedback to both the student and to educators. There's differentiated lessons. There's different things students can do within the program. So those are some of the reasons why we originally brought Achieve to our district. And we wanted to tell you where we've been and then what our impact on Achieve has been. So in 2015-2016, we started with a small pilot with our middle schools at 7th grade and one 8th grade pilot at Brooks. Through that pilot, the feedback from the teachers was overwhelmingly positive. The impact that we saw in students was overwhelmingly positive, and the feedback we got was, can we get this for everyone? Can we implement it with more students? And so in 2016-2017, we were able to expand our pilot into a full implementation for all 5 of our middle schools for grades 6 through 8. And then last year, we also brought on our 6th through 9th grade, and I'll let Amy speak a little bit to our elementary as well.
Okay, so the first year when we brought it in for the pilot for the middle schools, we also brought it to our challenge classrooms in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, thinking that this was more of a middle school product and the challenge classroom would be a good place to try it out. After that year, we decided, why are we not using this in 4th and 5th grade? So in 2016, 2017, we selected various groups at 4th and 5th grade in our 12 different buildings. We decided from the feedback from that this was something we needed to implement universally across our 4th and 5th grades, and that's what we did last year. You will see our data combined with the middle school data from last year, and it's quite impressive. That led us to this year, bringing it also down to 3rd grade, and we're expanded all the way up to 10th grade. So this year we're fully implemented 3rd through 10th grade. When we look at our data, one of the things we'll notice is that last year, 79% of our students exceeded the expected growth in reading, which is amazing, and we also saw that correlate to our PARCC scores. In addition, 36% of our students met college and career readiness levels.
One of the benefits of Achieve is students can access it anytime, anywhere. They can use their phone, they can use a computer, they can use it anytime at night or over the summer. And this slide really highlights the usage that we've had of students using it on their own time, after school, on the weekends, during holidays or breaks, and also just how many customized lessons, meaning that students chose to go on and do a lesson on their own. So these are some of the highlights that we're really proud of, that students are not just engaging it within the classroom when they're assigned to it, but they're choosing to work on this at home on their own. And I think really the reason for that is they can see their own growth and they can feel their own success, so it motivates them to continue to want to grow as a reader.
So last year was our first year of implementing across the board for 4th and 5th grade, and we started with the goal of a typical growth of 100 points per student. We were very pleasantly surprised at the end of our first year when our district average for 4th and 5th grade was a 168-point gain. We had one school, Independence, that had over 70% of their students increased by 150 points or more. We were also very proud to have been able to offer 48 days of professional development last year for our 4th and 5th grade teachers to ensure that the implementation was not just of a computer-based product, but that it was a core resource embedded in our literacy framework as part of our reading workshop model. And the feedback we got from teachers was that they would have enjoyed more days of professional development around that, and that 48 days is spread across the different buildings. At the end of last year, we decided to provide the resource to third grade teachers, but just the teacher end of it. So they were taught how to log in, how to access the multitude of articles, how to differentiate with those articles in their classrooms. And again, the overwhelming response was, when are our kids going to get this too? So this year we did begin training with our third grade teachers, and as of last Friday, our third graders are starting to log into the program as well.
So some of our highlights from 6th to 9th grade, when we started in full implementation in 2016-2017, we had around 19% of college and career readiness gains, which is very significant, 7% higher than Achieve projected us for. We had an average of 115 points growth, and we saw a relationship, which was really neat when our data and assessment team worked with us to look at our data, that there was a relationship that if a student was deemed college and career readiness on Achieve, then they also 90% of the time scored a 4 or 5 on PARC, and actually we saw more students score 4 or 5 we saw on PARC than on Achieve, and I think that has to do with the fact that PARC also has literature passages. Achieve is all informational, and that's something that we know our students struggle with reading, and that's another reason why this resource is impactful to our students, to help them access more nonfiction texts. Last year, we even saw greater gains. We were so excited after 2016, 2017, we thought, okay, I'm not sure we're gonna see the same. We really, hit the floor running, but we saw even higher gains. We saw over 20% in CCR, and we saw a higher Lexile average of over 140 points. And again, another a relationship between students that were scoring on PARC and their college and career readiness on Achieve. This is a report that Achieve provided us. We get asked all the time from Achieve if they can use our district's data, because we have had such a strong implementation plan, and we've seen so much growth from our students that they are often showing us things and saying, can we post these other places because it's so great. This chart really emphasizes that from 3rd through 9th grade, and last year in 3rd grade, you can notice that there's only 104 students, because at that time, that was just the challenge program. But you can see the gains, our average gains for all of our grade levels, really exceeded what we would have expected. And then you can see how high some of our students grew. That's what's highlighted in the 90th percentile. We had students grow, over 344 Lexile points in a year, which is amazing.
And as Rachel said, I was at a conference last fall in Springfield, and there was this huge chart in front of the Achieve 3000 little demo area, which was all about Valley View's growth. So they do really, they advertise how well we're doing, and we're appreciative for having this program with them. This graphic shows clearly how over the course of the year, we were able to increase our students' college and career readiness, and at the same time decrease those students that are at the low end of our scales.
And this is a graphic that we've done 2 years in a row now that show a really nice curve where you can see our students that are growing and Achieve, they're making gains, they're growing also in PARC and making their gains. So the more they seem to grow on Achieve, the more they seem to grow on PARC, which is why it's a really nice monitoring tool that we have, because it does give us data every month updated on how our students are growing. And there's a nationally normed assessment in the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year, so that it's not just our district data, but it's any school district that's using Achieve, which it's used all over the country and internationally as well. Before we move on to sharing kind of some of our teacher voice, I just want to say, if you're thinking in your head, wow, you've really expanded this 3rd through 10th grade now, are students getting achieved out, or note over it. I would think if I was a board member, that would be a question I would have. And the experience is actually quite the opposite. Most of our students come in very enthusiastic about Achieve, and as we've seen it grow to the higher level, students are like, oh great, we have Achieve here too. Because again, they're able to progress monitor themselves, and especially as they get older, I think they have a real investment in how they're growing and how close they are to being at the college and career readiness level that they're hoping to be at before they exit Valley View.
In the rest of the presentation, you see a few examples of the teacher voice we've collected. I cannot tell you how many emails have come in since we put this presentation together. Instead of reading through all of these, we have some teachers who came in person who would like to share their experience. So we're going to start with Tricia Ratajczyk-Brown.
Good evening, board members and senior leadership. My name is Tricia Ratajczyk-Brown. I'm currently a TLC at Hermanson Elementary. However, last year I was a 5th grade teacher at Independence Elementary, where we saw great growth. Achieve 3000 was a valuable part of my classroom last year. This teaching tool allowed me to quickly assess my students' reading levels and their skills using a variety of complex informational texts. It also gave me an accurate weekly snapshot of how my students were performing on a variety of skills and progressing through each of the standards. This program is a phenomenal teaching tool for providing differentiation and scaffolding within the classroom that has a large span of reading levels, like we often do in a 5th grade classroom. What I love about the program is that it allows each child to feel successful at their level with similar content in the text to that of their peers. As a teacher, I also appreciated the data that came from the program, as it gave me a great deal of information to relay to parents about their child's current reading level throughout the year. I believe this program is an invaluable tool for the educators throughout Valley View District.
And another elementary voice, Jody Pearson.
Good evening. My name is Jody Pearson. I'm here to also discuss Achieve 3000. I really loved Achieve 3000. Oh, I'm sorry. First off, I am an IEC at King Elementary School. I was previously a 5th grade teacher at Beverly Scoff Elementary School. One of the things I really liked about Achieve is it gave the students a variety of different topics. Teachers can assign specific articles to their students. There are extension activities and comprehension questions that go along with each article. Teachers can also pinpoint strategies and skills that can target each student's needs. And one of the things I absolutely loved about Achieve is you could print various different types of reports for the parents. I printed reports for my parents on a monthly basis. I sent this home to my parents. My parents look forward to it. The students can also use Achieve outside of the classroom as well. So my parents were really on top of following their students, not only in school, but out of school as well. So it does give students, teachers, and parents an idea of growth each month, and therefore can also be used as a good point of communication. And it also aided me with report cards. It helped me understand the level of my students, and it helped me figure out which strategies and skills my students still needed to achieve. And last but not least, I also felt that it gave my students practice. Practice for PARCC, practice for other assessments, because this is a great online tool that they can use to assess themselves.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Wisniewski. I teach 7th grade language arts, honors, and standard here at Lukanczyk Middle School. And some of you who I have spoken to in the past probably know me as a skeptic, which I was very skeptical of this program when it first was rolled out. One of my major question happened to be, how is this better than what we already have? Why are we spending money on this if we have access to free resources out there? And the proof is in the pudding. I can tell you that the difference is that the 3 main things that I think are important about this: choice for students, choice for teachers, feedback, both immediate and accurate, and a sense of self-efficacy that students gain, parents gain, teachers gain over instructional methods, over instructional choices, and looking at the growth of their students. Achieve 3000 provides a much higher quality of all of those things than any of the free resources available. I could go into details, but I think that pretty much hits what I want to say.
Hello, I'm Sally Green. I've been teaching 8th grade language arts at Brooks Middle School for 14 years. So I know the 8th graders pretty well. And when I first heard about Achieve, I couldn't believe that it was going to figure out what their level was and then spit out the exact same article to each student at their level. It seemed like some kind of a magic dream. And we were able to pilot that first year in 8th grade at Brooks, and it was and has been. And I'm just going to tell you one story about one student that I think encapsulates why I'm such an Achieve fan. Shans came into my classroom with a 750, which for 8th grade honor students enter around 1,000, and I try to get them to 1150. 1050 is college and career for average, or the gen ed 10th grade, but the honors are higher. I couldn't figure out why Chance was in honors because he was at about a 750. So the year goes on and he's starting to buy in. He had interpersonal communication skills off the chart, and so that was a part of his reason for where he was placed. But he worked and worked and worked, and by the end of the year, he was close to 1,000, which was a huge accomplishment. So last year, he entered 9th grade at BHS, and he would come back and visit me and kind of keep me posted. But in the spring, I saw him in the hallway and waved, but I didn't get to talk to him. But when I got back to my classroom, this sign was in the middle of my SPART board, so he wanted to make sure that I got the news that his Lexile was at 1,300. So that's him just working on his own, motivated to improve his vocabulary and complex text reading skills. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bridget James, and I teach 7th grade regular ed and co-taught at Humphrey Middle School. I've been employed in Valley View for 16 years and in the classroom for the last 6. Not only am I a graduate of Valley View School District, my son also went through Valley View School District. When Achieve was launched 4 years ago, I was informed that 7th grade, as Rachel said, would be the ones piloting it, and we did not have one-to-one computers at this time. I was very unsure of how I was going to squeeze Achieve into my classroom, having to get a computer cart, hoping there was one not checked out, or trying to get into the library. Once we began to get hands-on training and see what the program was really able to do and how we could fit it into our classrooms, my interest extremely grew. I wanted to use it more and more, and I couldn't use it every single day. I still had other things that I needed to cover. Over the course of the 4 years, I've come to really appreciate and like the Achieve program in my classes. Language arts is a class that's very hard to find differentiated levels of informational text that provides, as everyone has said, levels to every student in your classroom. We just got done taking the level set test today. I have kids in my class at 580 all the way up to 1100. So it's very hard every day to try to find articles to meet everyone, and Achieve does that. Every teacher I've worked with has taken Achieve and adapted it to their own style of teaching. What works in my classroom for my kids does not necessarily work in a co-taught classroom. At Humphrey, many teachers relate the articles to stories that we're working on in class. There's a story that we read in class called Electric Summer, which is about a girl who visits the St. Louis Fair of 1904 for the very first time. She lives in the country. She's never seen any of the things that were around during that time period. Introducing the hot dog and the fair to her was very new. However, I was able to find an article in Achieve called Still Growing at 100 Years that talked about carnivals and amusement parks that have been around for 100 years and explaining why to the students why they were important. So it related both to what we were studying, to all the new technology, as well as this girl in the story's ability to grow as a character as she learned many things. Last year, I had a total of 78 students in my class, and 44% of them had Lexile gains over 100. My highest student last year grew 225 points from August to December, and she continued to grow again another 100 points from January until May. As students are completing Achieve articles, they're responsible in my classroom, as Rachel said, for tracking their own information. They track them on an Achieve graph as well as in a Google form where they are able to see what other students in class are also getting on the Achieve. Where do they fall? Did they get the 75? Did they get the 100? It's really neat to watch their faces, try to see where they are and where they fall in the classes between all 3 blocks that I teach. Students in my class also have an opportunity to earn tickets. So if they get 100, they earn 3 tickets. They really want that 100 to show that they can earn these tickets, that they're understanding the article, and so forth all the way down. At the end of the year, yes, I do have a little bonus for the kids' tickets drawing. They get a gift card to McDonald's, but it really seems to make sure that they're working on their Lexile levels. They're taking their time in their articles. They're not rushing through them just to get them done because it is part of their grade in class. My son was a struggling reader here in Valley View 4th through 7th grade, and I really wish when he was here that there was a program like this for him. It would have made his first year of college probably a bit more easier, being exposed to informational text in 4th through 7th grade than when he got to college and was like, how do I read this? But today he coaches college ball and is doing very well. Thank you.
Did not have any high school teachers, but you can see that there were high school teachers that gave some testimony as well. And again, the excitement from the high school and even the student that Sally shared, it seems to continue on with the students and with the staff. So we're excited to be able to expand this all the way to 10th grade this year. And then we just had an opportunity if there's any questions for the board.
Anybody have any questions? I just had a comment. So when we went to the one-on-one devices, that's certainly helpful. And I would expect that that 86,000 hits after school or after, you know, on holidays, weekends, whatever, will go higher. And I believe if we're going to go to a take your device home for summer, that hopefully you guys will put a benchmark, you know, June 1st to, and see what that looks like. Because I would be very fascinated to see how many kids continue to, you know, jump on there in the summer times. Reading is a huge, I'm a prodigious reader, always have been. Not much in fiction, but a lot of other things. And I read some very weird books, but I would be interested to see what kids do when they don't have to versus, you know, you've piqued their interest in this. Now let them do what they want to do for the summer, and they can read books and articles on their own and move forward with this. And I think I'd be very interested if you guys, next time we do one of these, just, you know, for next year, say, hey, this is what happened then, so now we know that this is even better.
They have access to it all summer long where they can just choose, so we can definitely look into that data for you. And they even have like a challenge of trying to do 40 articles over the summer. That's what Achieve encourages, so that for that summer slide that they're continuing to read all summer long.
Get a lot more out of this in video games.
Even without the computers going home, the kids are accessing it at home on their smartphones or going to Fountaindale and using the computer system there. And we had a little girl who over the summer completed 235 articles, each of which she scored 75% or higher on each of the little quizzes that comes with it.
It's fantastic.
So that's what she did for fun this summer. And but we really do see kids asking, like, can I do this at home? Can I find my own article? Then they get to pick what topic they read. So it's a big motivator.
That's fantastic. So, anybody else have anything? Thank you for bringing this to us, and I'd like to see what you do next year with the summer stuff. Yeah. Fantastic.
Thank you. And I just want to thank Rachel and Amy for their leadership and commitment to supporting our teachers and supporting our students, for our educators. As you can hear from their brief testimony tonight, we have the absolute best educators, and these ladies are representative of this with their commitment to embracing a new resource and doing whatever it takes to support our kids. So thank you all for being here and for continuing to do all that you do day in and day out. We really appreciate it.
Next up, the Dedication Professional Development Laboratory in honor of Dr. Medea Thompson. Jim, are you doing that, Rachel?
Okay, welcome again to, so we are asking the board tonight to listen to our information as we seek approval for a dedication of our professional development laboratory, which is currently under construction at B.J. Ward Elementary. This fall, we have partnered with National Louis University to bring back Reading Recovery, which is one of the most highly rated intervention programs. And part of that program is that in the teacher learning process, the teachers take a student behind the glass. So there's a room with a one-way glass. You can imagine like an interrogation kind of room, except not as threatening. And they sit and they do a lesson with the kid on one side of the glass. The student has no idea, unless they watch like CSI, that anybody's on the other side of that glass. Where on the other side of the glass, there's actually a whole class of teachers, and they're watching the lesson and they're able to discuss with each other what's going on. We are constructing this right now at BJ Ward Elementary, and we have a group of teachers that are undergoing their first year of training for reading recovery, which involves 9 credit hours, and each of them will come behind the glass for lessons approximately 4 times during the year. This room, besides reading recovery, is also a fantastic place for us to expand our professional development for coaches, for administrators, being able to observe students in a safe and unobtrusive manner. We want to dedicate this space to Dr. Meta K. Thompson because Meta was such a staunch supporter of reading recovery and good practices for kids. She was the principal at BJ Ward Elementary, where we are building this laboratory. And then she moved on to be the director of professional development at the Ad Center. Sadly, Meta passed on in 2011. And we believe that dedicating the library in her, or the laboratory in her memory will symbolize the belief that there's always more learning to do and that there's better ways that we need to find to service our students. So we're asking for permission to dedicate that space. Upon approval, we want to have a large celebration in which we'll invite the board and community members, as well as our partners at National Louis University, to break in the new space, and everybody can come see what a fantastic learning environment that we're putting together there.
Any members of the Thompson family?
Yes, so we're reaching out to try to see if Rusty and or daughters can come. We're not positive. Judy, I know Judy's been in touch with him, so hopefully they'll be able to come to the dedication as well.
Thank you. At this time, I would request that we waive the rules for a second reading and make a motion that we dedicate this room tonight, if that's acceptable with my fellow board members. I need a motion and a second first, correct? Need a motion?
The second, I thought you just motioned.
Why the rush?
Oh, no, why not just do it? And then they don't have to come back and do this again. So I'm throwing out there an opportunity to waive the second reading and make a motion that we do that. And then my second motion will be to approve the naming of this after Mrs. Thompson following this waiving of the second reading. So at this time, I'm asking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. We have a motion on the table to waive the second reading. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Opinion of the chair. I now make a motion that we approve this instead of a second reading. We do it this evening, and we dedicate the Professional Development Laboratory and name it after Dr. Thompson.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now you don't have to come back. Thank you, and tell everybody that's involved. I knew Dr. Thompson. She loved this school district, loved kids, and she was one of the most dedicated professionals that I've ever run across. So I was glad to see this come up here. So thank you. You guys did a great job. Appreciate it.
Every single person I've talked to, when they've heard that we are bringing reading recovery back in and we have this room, has said, you have to dedicate it to Dr. Thompson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please pass that along to the family as well. Judy or whomever. Yep. 13.3, job description.
13.3 Point 3 is an information report for a proposed job description for the PE driver's education and health administrator at the high school level. We will be bringing this job description for action at the September 17th board meeting.
Anybody have any? Dr. Mitchum, feel free.
Can I try that with some of my stuff, Steve? First reading, waive second, or just approve it?
What was the question?
So could I try that with some of my stuff? That's just a joke.
No.
Never mind. Tonight I bring information requesting consideration for the creation of a driver education, health, and physical education content administrator. This position would be responsible for the evaluation of all teachers within these 3 domains in the same way that the enrichment content administrator and the core content administrators support their areas. The areas of driver education, health, and PE are the only areas in which a content administrator is not assigned. Currently, the responsibility for evaluation in the areas of PE, driver education, and health are that of the assistant principal in charge of athletics and activities. In researching all schools in both athletic conferences, the position of AP for athletics and activities varies as it relates to the responsibility of teacher evaluations. 10 do not evaluate whatsoever. 10 do 7 or more evaluations, and 5 do 5 or less evaluations. What is consistent with all schools in both conferences except BHS and RHS is the activities coordinator position, of which we do not have. Although the number of evaluations is similar between all assistant principals in Valley View School District, what separates the AP from athletics and activities is the amount of hours required both during student attendance time and after school athletics and activities to include weekends. Also, the AP for athletics and activities is responsible for the annual evaluation of all sponsors and coaches. This number is in excess of 100 evaluations. The assistant principal in charge of activities and athletics is a very fluid position that does not lend itself to the rigidity of conducting teacher evaluations with integrity, while at the same time being attentive to the day-to-day responsibilities that are unique to the position of AP in charge of athletics and activities. Some of these responsibilities include, but are not limited to, transportation for athletics and activities, facility usage, hiring coaches and sponsors, alumni outreach, weekly coaches meetings, activity sponsors and coaches meetings, signing days, awards nights, interscholastic contracts, which number over 1,000 a year, facilities and equipment upkeep, attendance at sporting events and activities events, oversight of $1 million plus budget, IHSA concurrence forms, and eligibility requirements, just to name a few. Finally, I feel it necessary to communicate that this request is not designed to replace the most recent rescinded request for a full-time activities coordinator. This position will not be responsible for activities in any way. It will, however, provide the necessary time required of the assistant principal for athletics and activities to focus on activities of which their current job responsibilities prevent. I welcome any questions at this time. We will bring this back to you for action at our next scheduled board meeting.
Questions?
Yeah, I have a question. How many evals does the athletic director have to do at each school?
It varies from year to year, but this year, one is doing 16 evaluations and the other is doing 17 evaluations. And I might note that the evaluation process is significantly different than when I evaluated and requires a much more in-depth system in which to have walkthroughs, have multiple evaluations, collect data, put data into the system, and the like.
From my understanding, it takes about 8 hours to do one evaluation.
Around that time, yes.
Okay. And then, will there be any, so I would hope that you would hire from within for this position?
Currently, we're trying to minimize the impact this has on our overall budget. In speaking with both principals, it appears that Bolingbrook High School would be able to fill this position from within without the need to hire more FTE. They may require one overload to ensure that we're able to accommodate this position, so the cost would be minimal, if anything. Romeoville High School at currently might need a half a position, a 0.5 position. They are working through this as we speak. Mr. Kinder will get back with me to indicate what the impact would be on his staff, but the worst case scenario at Romeoville High School would be a 0.5.
So will this person also assume department chair responsibilities, or what will happen with the department chair?
Yes, this person would assume the duties of the department chair as well as the duties of an administrator as it relates to evaluation and observation.
Any other questions? Anything, Jim?
No.
Good?
Thank you.
All right, well, I guess we'll see this in the future. Moving down the agenda, Legal Services Report.
I have no report tonight.
Thank you. Association reports, AFT. Here she comes.
Good evening, Board of Education and senior leadership. I'm Claudine Charco, the president of the Valley View Council. Just a quick couple reports for this evening. We're asked to participate in the Romeoville Founders Day Parade. We'll be walking in the parade. It is Sunday, September 16th. The theme for the parade is Back to the Future, and then we're kind of twisting it to supporting our future, a very positive message for all the staff, certified and classified to walk. We have Michelle Salato from Bolingbrook High School, who will be driving the truck this year. And as always, we hand out bookmarks and pencils to the students and kids along the parade route. And then just on another note, if I can give a union endorsement to Achieve 3000, I actually want to say using it as a resource in the classroom, it was very, it's a great resource to have, and I really enjoyed using it as a teacher. And I also used incentives in class, and after the students would have a 75 or higher or reached a standard mark, at the end of the semester, they'd pull their name and they'd get a little gift card. And even for 7th graders, they actually did, they really like doing that and meeting those standards. So I just want to put a little union endorsement on it for you, and just talk about the parade. And that's all I have for this evening. So,
thank you. Valley View Council. No report. And Office Personnel Council. No report. Any old business before the board this evening? Any new business before the board this evening? Any questions from the public on actions we have taken this evening? Hearing none, seeing none. Moving down. Announcements by the board. From my right.
I have one. Sunday was Irene King's 50th birthday, and April Vasek and Patty Chow and all their staff, they had a big party there. They had jumpers in the back. They had ice cream from ComEd. They had fire trucks and the big Hanson trucks out. And with all the heat, it was very well attended. So I just want to say thank you for doing that.
On my left.
I just want to remind everyone, or I don't know if remind is the right word, let everyone know that on Friday, October 12th, the Valley View Education Enrichment Foundation is hosting an Oktoberfest. It's going to be at the Rec Center in Romeoville, and it's from 6 to 9, I believe it is. There's beer and wine tasting, food tastings, lots of fun games and contests, $25 admission fee, and very shortly you will be getting district emails will go out allowing you to purchase tickets for that event.
Anyone else have any comments? Any announcements by the administration?
Yes, I do have one announcement. I would like to congratulate 3 of our schools for being named by Chicago Magazine as some of the top schools in Illinois. We have Jane Addams and Jonas Salk, who are in the top 10 in Will County for K-8 buildings, and we have Romeoville High School, who's in the top 5 in Will County for high schools. The criteria used for this honor is spending per pupil, attendance, graduation rate for high schools, freshman on-track rate for high schools, 5 essential survey data, PARCC attainment scores, and SAT attainment scores. I believe this is the 2nd time that Romeoville High School has been recognized as one of the top schools in Will County, and I'd just like to publicly thank those buildings and their teachers and their administration as they're an example of the great things that are going on in all 21 of our school buildings. So congratulations.
Any announcements by the public this evening? Hearing none, seeing none. A motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. School's back. Have a great, safe week, and we will see you in a couple weeks, folks. Thank you.